Hi, I'm Dr. Charlie Brown, Director of Get Your Head in the Game. The video that you're about to watch on goal getting was originally recorded on November 1st, 2011. I want to thank Forsyth Medical Center and Fleet Feet Sports of Winston-Salem for sponsoring the program and making this presentation possible.
We are thrilled to have Dr. Charlie Brown with us tonight.
Okay, can people hear me? Good. And let me tell you first of all, you are my heroes. I've worked with a lot of athletes, but you are my heroes. Where a hero is a person who is admirable, who engages in challenges, and who undertakes something that is worthy and just engenders admiration. And I think if you're starting an exercise program, if you're undertaking a challenge in your life, as has been described to me by Emily and Stacy, you are my heroes, hands down. And I'm looking forward to this evening. I want to thank both Forsyth Regional Orthopedic Center and Fleet Feet Sports for putting this together. But let's talk a little bit first. You guys have set goals for yourself, right? Everybody talks about goal setting, goal setting, goal setting. Well, actually, setting goals is pretty easy. Have you ever noticed that the goal getting sometimes tends to be a little bit trickier? And have you ever set a goal in your past where you didn't seem to be able to get that goal? Raise your hand. Okay, we got. Okay, we did. I raised my hand. And what are the challenges that seem to get in your way of your achieving your goals in the past, particularly if it was a physical or an athletic kind of goal? What are some of the hurdles that got in your way? Time. What else? Go ahead. Injury. Oh, yeah, injury, yes. What else? Discipline. What else? Family. Yeah. Isn't it amazing how that happens? Yeah. Family. What else? Work. If you put it all together, I tend to think that the biggest hurdles fall into two categories. Life and discomfort. Life comes at you pretty fast sometimes. Work, family, discomfort, injury, pain. If you're training right now, I don't know if you've noticed, but the temperature has dropped in the mornings. There's discomfort there. Well, what we would like to do, what I would like to do this evening is that my goal is to help you get the goals that you set. Okay? And I want to share some specific tools and techniques with you this evening that you can hopefully take back to help you get the goals that you set for yourself. And specifically, we're going to be talking about the importance of thinking in stages of change, and how thinking in stages of change can really help you achieve long-lasting, lifetime change. The other thing is that we're going to talk about some techniques you can use to deal with discomfort. Many times it starts getting just a little bit uncomfortable. We want to have, hopefully, a lot of question and answers, though my wife will always say, you talk too much, too long. You've got to make sure we leave time for question and answers. And the other thing is, I hope we enjoy this evening. I was talking to Robin beforehand, and she was saying, we really like to enjoy what we're doing here. And to me, that's a prerequisite. If we're not having a good time tonight, please raise your hand or make funny faces, and we'll try and do something to make sure we stay interesting and enjoyable. So, and we also have an MMSPT, we have for you a most magnificent sports psychology tool. These will be available for you to pick up on the way back. Now, you may think it's an average index card, but those are the non-franchised, most MMSPTs. This actually has something printed on it. So you could use the non-franchise model, but this is absolutely, we have some tools for you to take away tonight. So, goal getting, when the first prerequisites for being able to get those goals that you've set is to be able to think in terms of stages. Now, why are stages important? Why is it important to think in stages? Well, simply, it's how people actually change. Now, I heard a small child here. Did I hear a small child in the back, or am I just hallucinating? Okay, thank you. Well, I don't know if the child can stand yet, but you got to stand before you can walk, before you can run. Everything works in stages. Now, we tend to think about that for children, but we don't always think about stages when people are trying to do changes as an adult, but you still work through stages. And the goal at each stage is to progress to the next stage. That different things work at different stages. What works at one stage, it can be wonderful if you're at a certain stage, and it's totally worthless at a different stage. And so we want to think about those stages, and we want to make sure that you can identify, okay, what stage am I at right now? And what can I do to help me move to the next stage? You guys with me? Good. And we'll have some audience participation along the way, I'm certain of this. The stages of change. The stages of change starts off pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, maintenance, and our old nemesis, relapse. Now, I want to go through each one of these in details. And let's start off with that pre-contemplation. Pre-contemplation. Pre-contemplation, you're not even thinking about change. Your head's in the clouds. It is the furthest thing from your mind. And if you're here, you're beyond the pre-contemplation stage. I know that part. But there was some time, I'm willing to bet, where you were in that pre-contemplation stage. You're thinking about changing. Well, you weren't, take that back. You were not even thinking about changing. It wasn't even on your radar. And the goal, if somebody's at that pre-contemplation stage, is to move them to that, the contemplation stage. Just where they're thinking about it. That's all they got to do is think about it. And how do you do that? The process that moves from the pre-contemplation to contemplation is education about the benefits of change. That really is the foundation. If you're going to change, it all starts that you've got to be clear as to what are the benefits of change. And this is true whether or not you're doing an exercise program or anything in life. And one of the best examples of this that I know was shared with me by a physician by the name of Kurt Tribble. Dr. Kurt Tribble is a cardiac surgeon, originally up at University of Virginia Med School. He's now down in Florida. And he knew the importance of having a person very clear as to the benefits of change. If you know the benefits of change, you can hold on. You'll hold on to that change when times get tough. And what Kurt would do, he's a cardiac surgeon. He's doing heart surgery. And he knew how important it was if he's getting ready to operate on somebody, if something happened unexpectedly during the surgery, he wanted the patient ready to hold on to be part of the team. And so what Kurt would do the day before the surgery, he goes in and he always sits down and he talks to the patient. And he may sit down on the bed beside him, and it's, from the patient's standpoint, it's can be a little bit nervous, and then you got this surgeon there sitting, and the family may be there. And Kurt's a very distinguished fellow, easygoing manner. He sits on the side of the bed. And he always asks the patient, he says, why do you want this surgery? And usually, the patient doesn't have, I want to live. And Kurt says, yeah, I know you want to live, but what is it you want to be doing with your life? Now, some people have a quick answer, but most of them it takes them back just a little bit. And Kurt describes that you see them stop and pause, and they go someplace deep inside, and they just come up with these most amazing answers. It's like, you know, my daughter's in college right now. I want to be able to walk her down the aisle. Someday in the next 10 years, she's going to get married. I want to walk her down the aisle. Or you have another person that says, I have worked hard all my life, and my husband and I have been waiting for these years to be able to go and do adventures in the world. We want to travel the world. We want to be able to hike the mountains of the world. You have another person who says, I want to be able to play with my grandchildren. One woman said, my grandmother taught me how to make blackberry cobbler. I want to teach my granddaughter who's 7. She can't do this until she's at least 5 or 6 years old. I want to teach her to make blackberry cobbler the way my grandmother taught me. Kurt would look at the person and says, I'll make you a deal. I will do my very best to make this surgery a success. I promise to do that if you promise to do what you've just told me, if it is successful. And if you get a chance, drop me a line. I want to know about it. You shake hands with the person. Now, when Kurt was telling the story, about moving to tears, and then he pulls out his iPad. And this happened about 50 years ago. They just came up, they didn't have iPhones. He flips it open to the photos. He has the most wonderful collection of photos of fathers walking their daughters down the aisle in wedding dresses, of the grandmother teaching the little girl how to make apple cobbler with flour up to her elbows. You've got a picture of grandparents and their kids playing on the beach. And you have one picture of a woman who had even climbed to the top of Mount Lanier. Those are the benefits of change. Those are the things that people can hold on to. And so when you're thinking about the benefits of change, you know, you're undertaking a challenge right now. And I want you to think, what are the benefits of change that you want to achieve? Now, and I want to say, that's why I want to complete my 5K. That is absolutely wonderful. But if your goal is to just complete a 5K, you're allowed to complete that 5K and then not go further. And the truth of the matter, if you're facing adversity and if your sole goal is to complete the 5K, that's not a whole lot to hold on to when it gets really tight. I would ask you to look into your heart and say, why are you doing this? What is it that you want to get from your life? What are the benefits you want to achieve? And once you have done that, anytime you see this guy, you need to remember it. This is your virtual coach here. Tip number 1. You are going to have this most magnificent sports psychology tool, and I would encourage you to identify the benefits of change. Really, what is it you're looking for? And then don't just think it, ink it, write it down. I'm becoming more and more chronologically gifted nowadays. My wife says you're just getting old. Well, the truth of the matter is, if you write things down, you remember them better. And so much in life, it's not a matter you have to learn anything new. You just got to remember what you know. And so, everybody, don't just think it, ink it. This is audience participation. Let's hear it. Don't just think it, ink it. Okay, you want to see that again. So, we've moved from pre-contemplation because we're very aware. You know, there's benefits for doing this. You say, let's go run 5K. Why? There's got to be a benefit for it. And you come back with that. So let's move to contemplation. Now, contemplation is when you're thinking about change. You know where you want to go, but you're not ready to get there yet. You're really not ready to get there yet. And the key here is to move to the preparation stage. And you've already been through this contemplation stage, and think about how you move beyond contemplation. Well, the process is education again. It's education about, well, how do I actually do this? What are the resources available? If I decide I want to actually be a little more active and do this 5K run walk, where can I find somebody to help me with that? Do I have to buy new shoes? What? But you want to find out this. It's education. How do you go about it? And during this contemplation stage, you're weighing the costs and benefits. Well, you know, the benefits back here from my pre-contemplation stage, I'm aware of that, but it's cold in the mornings. How do I go ahead and weigh that out if I'm doing this? You know, if I've got a busy life, how do I fit it in? It's a constant process of education about how you can address the potential cost against the benefits. And I'm assuming everybody here has moved beyond that stage, or else you wouldn't be here tonight. Now, after that contemplation stage, you move to the preparation stage. And some of you may be in the preparation stage here, because preparation stage is when you start taking actual steps towards change. And it may be more of a test run than actually committed to a long-standing change. This may be, you may be part of the program here saying, well, I'm going to do this 5K thing, but I'm not sure I want to do more than one of them. You know, this is, I'm here. It's a test, and that's okay. And the goal, if you're at that preparation stage, is to move to what's called the action stage. And the way that you do that, what's involved is it takes a lot of planning. You just got to do the planning. Okay, what do I need to make this change? Where can I get what I need? And what are the potential distractors? The potential distractions and how can I handle them? If I'm going to go run, when am I going to do it? What's going to happen to the kids if I do that? How am I still going to get dinner fixed if I got to go in, if I'm doing this in the afternoon or the evening? And so this is when you're doing the planning. You're checking things out. And so tip number 2 is, and actually you don't use your card for this. This is what you can do in your nifty little book here that you got. You can use this. I was really glad to see this. Identify the potential distractions. If you're at this stage, what are the things that tend to throw you off focus, that distract you from achieving your goal? And then what you want to do is plan in advance how you want to handle it. It really is a planning stage. And don't just think it, ink it. Everybody now, don't just think it, ink it. Write it down. Little side note. Do you know how we remember things? It actually, protein changes at a cellular level in the brain. That's sort of weird. You usually feel like computer circuits, but we got cells up here. And actually, if you write it down, it changes the way that the protein is synthesized in your brain to retain memory. So don't just think it, ink it. Okay, so we've moved from, I don't want to go there. No, let's go here again. got to back up. There we go. Okay. We've moved from pre-contemplation to contemplation to preparation, and we're ready for the action stage. Now, action, you're ready to do it. You are ready, you are out there. And it's what happens is usually, if you're at that preparation stage, and it's real easy to get stuck in that preparation stage where you're just weighing things out. You're ready to say, okay, let's do it. And somewhere it's balancing that cost and benefits. You say, okay, I'm going to do it. How many people here had sort of a tipping point at some point where you said, okay, I'm going to sign up for the program? I've thought about it. Yeah, how many people at that, there was a clear point, let's see if you show of hands, a tipping point, say, okay, I'm going to do it. And the balance between cost and actions, it tips, and then it's enough, let's do it, and boom, you're out of there, you're going. And the goal here, since you're taking action, is to somehow move to the maintenance stage. And, whoop, came back. The key at the action stage is commitment to the behavioral goals. And you need to have clear behavioral goals. And there need to be clear behavioral techniques, just like in the 5th grade. I don't know if any of you guys have 5th grade kids, but you need to have checklists, you need to have rewards. If I do this, I'm going to get myself one of the most stunning winning outfits you ever saw in your life. If I do this, I'm going to go to my reunion and I'm going to buy a new dress and I'm going to make everybody else just eat their heart out. And if nothing else, the checklist. I don't know how many people have used checklists. It works. It's one of those don't just think it, it works. Anytime I've been coming back from an injury or relapse, my wife knows if I'm serious because I got my checklist. It's one thing to think about. It's another thing where you have that checklist. Oh, yeah, I did that. And I would love to say that it's more esoteric. It's something fancier about being successful at this stage. But if you're at the action stage, it really is clear behavior. In fact, I've got to say this, motivation is overrated. Motivation is really important if you're at that pre-contemplation stage. And it's real important if you're at that contemplation stage. That's what sort of drives you. But if you get to this action stage, it is overrated because motivation changes like the temperature. And the key for this stage, as much as I hope I'm not bursting anybody's bubble, but it really is commitment. I mean, motivation goes up and down. Is commitment. And if you think about anything that's really important in your life, commitment is so important. How many people in here have children? People are really motivated and excited about getting up and taking care of a sick child at 2 o'clock in the morning with projectile vomit. Oh yeah, I'm going to talk to you afterwards. I mean, no, who's motivated? You don't do it. Oh boy, I get to go and clean up the projectile vomit. You do it because you're committed. That's not the time to say, well, I'd really like to, I'll do it tomorrow. No, you do it because you're committed. And if you're at that action stage, and I'm willing to bet that a lot of you are either at that preparation or the action stage, I got to tell you, there's no ifs, ands, buts around it. Commitment's where it's at. And so, tip number 3, and this is where you get to use your MLSPT, your most magnificent sports psychology tool. I would encourage you to take your MLSPT and commit to your goals. And if you decide to break that commitment, you need to claim it, you need to name it, and ideally you need to tame it if you want to stick with it. Claim it, name it, and if you want to stick with it, you need to find a way to tame And, oh yeah, don't just think it, ink it. For example, on the back end of your most magnificent sports psychology tool, I would always say that you need to go ahead and have a way, if you're making a commitment, I mean, you don't want to go and say, I have to do this always. You may decide not to honor commitment, but you need to claim it and name it. And so on the back, you've got a section for writing down and keeping a log. I am choosing not to honor my commitment today because this is more important. Taking Billy to the hospital. That's okay. Claim it. Name it. Now, as opposed to, because I want to watch the new episode of Survivor. Now, if you choose, that's okay. But claim it and name it. That's all you got to do. And remember, what do? Don't just think it. Think it. Okay. We've talked now, we're at that action stage. You're out there, you're really, really going, you're doing great. We want to get to the maintenance stage. Now, the maintenance stage, I don't want to scare you, but if we're talking about lifelong change, it usually takes about 6 months of action. If we're really talking about doing a lifelong habit, you can do initial habits, true, usually 30 days. But if you really want this to be a lifestyle habit, research would say 6 months. And this is really at the maintenance stage. It is when change becomes integrated into your lifestyle. And in order to do this, and the goal is to sustain the change as long as possible, and the process is you really have to have a social support network around you to keep you going. I mean, you have got to do that. In fact, do we have any couples in here who are doing this program together? I said, yeah, okay, good. That's actually one of the best predictors, is that if you're doing something together like this, because I don't know if you've noticed it, but if you're in here and if your family is someplace else, your being here has an impact upon them in some way, shape, or form. And you're going to do a lot better if you have the support of the social network around you. And also, you're making a lot of friends. You got folks like Emily and Stacy and different coaches here. You got to have that social support system. And also during this time, you want to deal with the potential pitfalls that accompany the new change in life. For example, how do you maintain balance? How do you make sure you don't get all the fervor of a reformed alcoholic who's ready to go out and say, everybody needs to run, everybody needs to run. It's, wait a minute, how do you keep some sense of balance in this? How do you deal with injury? If you're going to have a lifetime, if you're going to be an individual who has a lifetime commitment to fitness, there are 2 types of people that do that, those who have been injured and those who have not been injured yet, but they're going to be injured. I mean, that's part, you're going to have injuries along the way. And the more you can learn about injuries, how to prevent them, and how to deal with them, the better off you're going to be. So, what are you doing right now to make these changes part of your lifestyle? And how does your spouse, partner, or family feel about your changes that you're doing right now? If you want this to go into a lifestyle change, which I encourage everyone here to do. By the way, if you're being here, you're helping reduce the national debt. There's an article in the Huffington Post this month by John Brock, who said that if everybody in the United States began exercising more and eating smarter, we would reduce the national debt by $20 trillion in 20 years. So thank you. So this is a good thing you're doing. But how does your spouse, partner, your family feel about it? When I first started doing the transition into sports and performance psychology, I did research on the impact of training on relationships. one of the things that I discovered is that actually a lot of people talk about how training, it's really destructive. We're looking at triathletes who are training an average of 12 hours a week, plus plunking down a lot of money on bicycles and stuff like that. But actually, overall, the key was if you had great support from your partner, that if you stay long-lasting with it, it'd be a lifelong change. Yeah, they've even done research with patients after heart surgery, cardiac rehab patients who go and participate in exercise programs. And when they enter the program, they ask the patient what they think about the program and how important it is. And they ask the patient's spouse what they think, how important this program is. Guess which one's the bigger predictor as to whether or not the person stays in the program? It's not the patient's. The spouse's attitude is the bigger predictor. And so one of the best things you can be doing right now to encourage a lifelong change is getting the support of your spouse or partner. And sometimes that's a matter of giving them a special role in the process. So, relapse. Relapse. Well, first of all, it's going to happen. It's going to happen sometime. You're going to be temporarily back at pre-contemplation. Your head's going to be in the clouds. You're not going to be thinking about your change. It is going to happen. It happens to everybody. This isn't saying I encourage it, but be prepared. It's going to happen. It's sort of like if anybody's a snow skier, you're going to fall down. Yeah. And the goal, when you anticipate the relapse stage, is to get back and cycle through the process as rapidly as possible. And in order to do this, one of the important things is remember, relapse is actually a normal part of the change. And what happens if somebody thinks that relapse isn't a normal part of the change? That, oh, I messed up, I have to stop. I quit. I'll always be a failure. He said, no. This is a normal part of the process. This means you've got another stage to get back to. And the key here is to plan in advance how you want to handle forgetting. And that's where external reminders, if you have something outside, we're really talking about your remembering how important this is, about the benefits of change and remembering that commitment. If you have external reminders, and this is where the power of a partner comes in. And I have been really fortunate. I have one of the best training. I have had one of the best training partners in the world. A fellow by the name of Tom Williamson. And Tom is just great. I mean, he's just easy, smooth. I remember telling him one time, but Tom, you're the nicest guy I have ever met. And he's humble too, because he says, Charlie, you need to get out more, meet more people. An example of the power of a partner. Tom and I, we've run together, we cycled together, and our long bike rides, we've talked about marriages, divorces, children, being births of children, deaths, the whole 9 yards. And so we've got this great little relationship. Well, a number of years ago, I was coming back from back surgery. And I knew that I was getting back onto a training program so I could start doing just complete 5K. I just wanted to complete one. Before my surgery, I was doing a lot of stuff after surgery. And so I had a trip planned to Chicago. I was doing a program. And my wife was going to be coming, and we were going to spend a couple of extra days to listen to some great blues in Chicago, catch a light flight back. And normally we'd be back on Friday night, and normally Tom and I run on Saturday mornings. So, great time in Chicago. We're at Buddy Guy's place listening to this great blues. We get on the plane, we come back, woohoo! Okay, 6:30 in the morning, just hello? Hey, Charlie, stop. Tom, what are you doing? Wait. You told me to call you at 6:30, and wake you up so I can remind you first to go on a run. Tom, I changed my mind. Forget it. Thanks a lot. Take care. See you later. Hey, Charlie, it's Tom. Tom, I know that. What are you doing? He says, wait. You told me that if you hung up on me, that I was supposed to call you back. Tom, I appreciate you doing this, but look, we didn't get into 1 o'clock. I'm tired. We'll just run later. 5 minutes later. Dogs barking. It's Tom. Tom, what are you doing here? Wait, Charlie. You told me that if you hung up on me, that you wanted me to come here and knock on the door and wake you up because you really did want to go on this run. Tom, I've had it. I'm up to here with you. I mean, look, this is enough. Wait, Charlie. You also told me that if you got angry at me, that you were going to treat to breakfast for the next 4 weeks. I said that? Yeah. Let's go. He's a training partner. He is. Those training partners, if you get a training partner like that, hold on to them, work together. It's just absolutely wonderful. And tip number 4, I don't know if you noticed it, but we're coming up to one of the most challenging periods of the year to sustain any activity or any health focus over the next 8 weeks. And I would encourage you to take your wonderful blue book, how you want to deal with potential distractions over the next weeks. I want you to consider external reminders, sticky notes, and also enlist a partner. And if you really want to make it good, throw in those behavioral principles like, if I don't do this, you will treat to breakfast for 4 weeks straight. And what do? Don't just think it, ink it. Okay. So we've gone through the stages of change where you're contemplating. You can figure out where you are. I'm willing to bet that most of you are either in the preparation or action. Some may be in the maintenance, and some may actually be flirting with relapse. Now, if you're at relapse, circle back around. It is a process. Everybody works through those stages, and you will be successful. This model was actually originally designed in working with heroin addicts. And if it works with heroin addicts to help them stay clean, it will work with you and do a long-lasting lifestyle change. Now, my wife is true to form. I'm running over already. So let's talk about dealing with discomfort. How many people here have ever experienced any discomfort while running? Okay, is anybody not? Okay, good, because I have to call you a liar. There's a quote actually by Nietzsche that, how many people here are old enough to remember Dan O'Brien? Dan and Dave are going to the Olympics. And there's 2 decathletes back in '92, and Dan O'Brien actually choked the pole vault and didn't make it. He came back the following next set of Olympics. Not only did he make the team, he set a new world record for the most points in a decathlon. And this was the quote that Dan kept in his locker. It's not a matter of who's the strongest, but who can endure the most discomfort. And one of the hard things with running is that if you're feeling uncomfortable, it's real easy to make it more comfortable. What do? You walk, you stop, you slow down. Yeah. And so the thing with dealing with discomfort is, first of all, it is always uncomfortable when you start exercising. I had my back surgery. I mentioned that was about 13 years ago. And I remember I had to wait 90 days before I could run. And I used to love running. And so I've got it circled on the calendar. I'm telling my wife, we're going to go to the McAlpine Park in Charlotte. It's a beautiful running trail. I get up there, and I go and I run, and I come back. She goes, well, honey, how was it? It was horrible. What do you mean? It hurt. I could run for 1 minute, and then I had to walk. I was gasping for breath. Everything hurt. Everything was terrible. I mean, it hurt. It was uncomfortable. Ooh, what do you want to do? I'm going to go back and do it again. Because we made the commitment. We're going to the Grand Canyon this year. And I'm going to get out of the car. I'm going to be able to walk down through the Grand Canyon. I knew what the benefits of change were. But it always is uncomfortable when you exercise. The runner's high, it actually only occurs after the body is familiar with the activity. They just came out with some research in one of the journals this past month that has looked at taking images, brain scans of what happens when people are doing familiar events versus unfamiliar events, even if you're a seasoned athlete. If it's something you're really familiar with, this little frontal cortex does some really funky things that's really, really neat. But if it's a runner, and if you put them on a bicycle, it's like, it doesn't work. It takes at least 6 months to be able to get to that point. And until that time, it's going to be uncomfortable. I'm sorry about that. So the key is that if you know you're going to experience discomfort, rule number 1 is check it out. Do a body scan. Okay, you got to check it out. What's going on here with me right now? Check it out once, then check it out a second time. Then you need to focus on what's essential. And if it's an injury, if this is like, no, this is an injury, stop and seek treatment. You've got fantastic resources here for you with these programs to help you get appropriate treatment if it is something that is like the injury. Now, if it is simply discomfort, shift your attention. Do something to manage the discomfort. How many people in here have find that it hurts when you get a shot? How many people watch the needle go in? Okay, well, it's a disassociation if you do that. But normally, I don't know if you've ever, you may want to do that when you get a shot in the arm, but never do it if they're working on your teeth. You'll totally freak out. But when you watch something, whatever you pay attention to, it will grow. And if you're focusing on the pain, it will make it more. One of the things you can do this time for dealing with discomfort is, first of all, focus on your breathing. Normally, when you get in pain, you will be taking short, shallow breaths. Belly breathe. Focus on your breathing. Get a nice, long, deep rhythm. Then, another great thing to focus on is form. Putting your attention, let me work on my form. And the third thing is you can work on relaxing your shoulders, particularly. Pain, when you get in pain, it triggers a level of adrenaline. You tend to tense up, makes it worse. Breathe, relax the shoulders, and focus on your form. Okay. We've talked about the stages of change. We've talked about dealing with discomfort. We have shared with you the most magnificent sports psychology tool. And we've talked about 5 specific tips. We now have 10 minutes for questions and answers. So, don't be shy. Now, there are no questions because I've explained everything so wonderfully that you understand the meaning of life and everything. What questions? Yes?
How do you help people when they, I've seen it happen a lot of times where they achieve the goal, they've done a 5K or they've done a marathon, and it's like they don't do anything for 6 months. I mean, they just start going, that just fell off, completely fell off. How do you help them reset their, and you're talking about the relapse, but it's kind of amazing. They didn't stop because they got hurt, they just stopped.
Right. The question was, it's a great question, Jack. The question is, how do you help a person continue or get back into the process of change after they've set a goal, they've achieved it, and it's like they just stopped. And they've laid all this foundation, this groundwork, and how to help them sustain that. And the key there goes back, if you look at the stages of thinking about what are the benefits of change. And if the benefits of change, it goes back to why are you doing this? And you really want to help that person be mindful of what are the long-term benefits. Actually, the benefit of running a marathon is nice, it's wonderful, but that's not the big benefits. The benefits come from having a healthy lifestyle. It may come from bragging rights, but you circle back around to the benefits of change. And that's why when I work with people who are doing changes or just starting to exercise, I've got to say, my goal for you is not just to help you do the 5K or just do this initial. It's really to figure out what are those benefits? Why are you wanting to do this? Remembering that, because that's what you're going to hold on to after that. The marathon at that point is just a stepping stone. It's just, it's a stepping stone. If you say, no, the goal is for me to say that I did my marathon, then you'll do it, and that's it. Boom. If you say, the goal is, I want to do a marathon because I am going to be one healthy son of a gun. Because I want to be able to go down the Grand Canyon and back. Woo! Then, and after the Grand Canyon back, particularly if you've done it for 6 months, you got a lifestyle idea that you can go back and the benefits of that lifestyle. Great question. Who else? Yes?
I'm a beginner runner, so pretty new at it. And my question is, when I'm running on mile 2, mile 3, and feeling great, and it feels so good. But then the next morning, when the alarm goes off, you're still contemplating the flu stuff.
Yes.
So how do you translate the feeling that you get later on when you're really going well?
Right. The question, let me make sure I say, we have a new runner, which everybody's been a new runner at one time, so it's correct. And say, when I'm running, I get mile 2, mile 3, and I feel absolutely great. And it's like, woo, this is good stuff. And then the next morning, the alarm goes off at 6 o'clock, and all those things from mile 2 and mile 3 is compared to how warm that bed feels, and particularly when it's a little chilly outside. How do you remember that? And that's where part of it is the commitment comes in. It is, that's why I say motivation. Motivation, a warm bed in the cold morning just sucks the motivation out of any runner. The key at that point is commitment. And so part of it is, I don't know an easy way for doing it. It's sort of like saying, I'm committed for doing this behaviorally. And that's where, because at the moment, you're going to be so focused by the warm bed, you're going to forget all the other stuff. It's the commitment, and sometimes saying, I got to put the check mark. It's straight behavioral. I said I would do 5 days this week. I got to do it, and this is the best time in the world. Now, of course, the other solution is to get a dog that wakes up and won't let you sleep. I have a dog that does that. If I don't get up in the morning when the sun comes up, my dog always makes it. But I don't recommend that for most folks. I'd say commitment, get your chart going, and it's purely behavioral. It's the kind of thing saying, I am going to do it even though I don't feel like it. And that is based upon the belief that that course of action will lead to a better life. It will lead to those benefits of change. Wonderful question. Wonderful question. And you'll hear my echo tomorrow morning, next time those sheets. Next time you're going to say, commitment, motivation is overrated. It's commitment right now.